A very good morning to one and all. I, Mrs. Poonam Ashwin Varkhede, Assistant Professor from the Department of Pharmaceutics, welcome you all on the behalf of Gokhale Education Society, Sir Dr. M.S. Gosavi, College of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Nasik, to the second session of our Pharma Nexus e-lecture series, which is entitled as Emerging Frontiers in Pharmaceutical Sciences from Drug Delivery to Drug Safety. We are delighted to have with us an eminent industry professional who brings with him a rich blend of experience, expertise, and practical insights from the pharmaceutical industry. It's my privilege to introduce our esteemed resource person, Mr. Kishor Deokar, Contractor Quality Lead, Zoetis Incorporated, with an impressive 19 plus years of experience in quality assurance in OSD, that is, in oral solid dosage, sterile products, biosimilars, monoclonal antibodies, and complex generics for highly regulated markets such as US FDA, MHRA, Health Canada. Sir, expert in regulatory audits, inspection readiness, technology transfers, PPQ, that is process performance qualification, and commercial manufacturing. He has proven track record in quality operations, CMO oversight, and end-to-end product lifecycle management with successful global launches. Sir has a rich and diverse experience in the field of quality assurance and regulatory compliance. Sir has core competencies in regulatory audits and inspection readiness, in pharmaceutical lifecycle management, technology transfers, and PPK executions, biosimilars and large molecular manufacturing, formulation development and analytical method validation, quality management systems and risk management in CMO oversight and vendor qualifications, SAP, TrackWise, Agile, Viva Vault, Empower, ELN, and EBMR. Sir is currently working as contractor quality lead manager at Zoetis Incorporated, where he is working as a lead site quality operations and manage regulatory audits. Sir previously worked in various industries, that is in Novartis Healthcare Limited, GSK Consumer Healthcare, Biological E Limited, Mylan Laboratories Limited, Ranbaxy Laboratories Limited, and Dr. Reddy's Laboratories Limited. So key achievements of Sir has a 0483 observations in 2 US FDA inspections. Sir executed complex monoclonal antibodies PPQ batches for US and European commercialization across the multiple products. Sir established R&D quality standards and compliance frameworks across the multiple facilities. Global awards. Sir received Zoetis Core Belief Recognition and GSK Global Employee Recognitions. Sir certified as a Global Quality Auditor. Tools and system. Sir has experience of SAP, TrackWise, Agile, Viva Vault, Empower, ELN, and EBMR. On the behalf of Gokhale Education Society, Sir Dr. M.S. Gosavi, College of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Nasik, I extend a very warm welcome to you. We are eagerly looking forward to your valuable insights and enriching session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. And to start the presentation, I would like to thank your organization and faculties for inviting me for this session. So, yeah, so the topic already I shared on screen, right? It's the quality compliance and audits in the pharmaceutical industry. And actually, I want to cover in this session what exactly fits between the classroom and the patient safety. So that's what I'm going to cover. So here is the roadmap for today's presentation. So you can see here pharma quality, where I'll speak about what quality exactly means, right? Which beyond the label claim. Then we'll go through the GMP and compliance, which will cover as well ALCOA principles as well. Also, the important part in pharmaceutical industry, which is audits, right? Regulatory audits or customer audits, that we are going to cover. Next is quality failures, where I will bring one or two real life examples, the basic examples just for your information, what kind of failures comes in the pharmaceutical industries with respect to quality failures. Also, I have one slide presentation considering the BPharm and MPharm students, like where they can fit themselves in the pharma industry. And finally, the summary slides, key takeaways. Fine. So we'll start from first slide. So what quality actually means. So generally, you might have heard the phrase many times, right? The quality is everyone's responsibility, and it's not like that. Suppose you are working in a quality department, then only the quality assurance team or quality assurance department industry is the only responsible unit for maintaining the quality for the products. That's completely wrong. So quality is everyone's responsibility. That phrase is always true. So you guys know, right? If we were to buy something, always we think for a quality, right? We go for what kind of quality that products have and all. But we are in a pharma industry where quality is, which is really a concerning, right? Because we are playing with the life of the patient, right? The patient can be anyone, right? Human, animal. It's patient for us being in a pharma field. So it's not like any application, right? Any mobile applications that has bugs or patches which can be fixed later, right? It's the quality we have to build in the product always with consistency, right? It's not like that one batch you manufacture by fully focused being a shop floor in a controlled manner, and you said that yes, I manufactured one quality batch. No, that's not correct, right? Every time you are going to make a batch, every unit of medicine, you have to ensure you are delivering a product which has an identity, strength, purity, safety, efficacy, and it's a performance requirement, right? Because uh, when you will enter in a pharma industry and you will start working in a pharma industry, always you have to think that when you are working, although your manager is not there, nobody is seeing you, but still you have to do always the right job, because you know that, right? The medicines which we are making, it's consumed by the patient, right? Our end user is the patient. So it's our responsibility that we should always produce a quality product, because our end user is patient, and patient can be anyone, right? It can be you, me, our brother, sister, our cousins, relatives, right? Our parents. So always while working in pharma industry, we have to be fully ethical, that we have to do a good job always, not for the sake of salary. Yeah. So I'll just give you an example of a simple paracetamol 500 mg tablet, right? So what gives you indication? Suppose you purchase one medicine from market, it's a paracetamol 500 mg. You know you are a pharma background. Suppose you tested this tablet also, right? And you got to say, okay, 500 mg. So based on that, will you say that my product is a quality product? May not be, right? Because that is the just the one criteria we're hitting, right? You tested the product, it's giving you 500 milligram label claim, you got a say 100%. Yes, that is one criteria of the product, but there are multiple criteria that also we have to meet consistently while making that paracetamol 500 mg. Suppose you take an example of your dissolution. Your product is meeting as 100%, but your product is fail in a dissolution, right? If it has a uncoated tablets, it should dissolve in 30 minutes. And if your product hardness is very high, and after consumption of the tablet, if it is not getting, the product is not getting released in the given timeline, right? It will create an issue, right? That's a failure of that product, right? Similarly, if your assay is not right, it means the mass balance concept, right? Your impurities or some other substances which are increased in that product, And impurities, there are multiple types of impurities: genotoxic impurities, right? Carcinogenic, elemental impurities. And that impurities always we try to control with a certain levels. We have the ICH guidelines, so we have a safety evaluation study we does through clinical trials. So we set up some limits for the impurities. But if the impurities are crossing the limit, then it's a not safe product for human consumption, right? Also, we have to while making the product, we have to focus on the uniformity, right, of the dosage forms. Suppose you are making a millions of tablet, you are not going to test every tablet, right? Randomly, you are going to pick a sample, and that sample you are going to test, and based on that you are going to release the entire batch in the market. So the uniformity of each dosage form is a very important aspect of the quality. Then coming to microbial quality, it's mostly this microbial concepts applicable for the sterile product. But if you don't maintain the sterility, like you have the classifications class A, B, C, D, right? Anywhere you breach the sterility, your product is going to fail in the market. Similarly, stability, right? We have when we manufacture a product, we put a label on the product, right? So that is very very important, right? The label which is on the product, because the label on the product gives the information to the patient, right? What is the dose, right? What is the storage condition, right? It is for children, or you have to keep away from children. What is the route of administration? So all these things are very much important. So if there is a certain storage condition, 2 to 8 degree, take an example, and the product is lying outside the at room temperature, or maybe a temperature in India, we know, right? We are even hitting the 40, 45, or more than 45 degrees in some conditions, in some states. So our product, maybe the product looks very good in a container, but since it is not stored at a recommended storage conditions, definitely the product will fail in stability, right? So what will happen? Your assay will go down, and any impurities will increase beyond the alert or action limit, right? So that will make the product unsafe for the patient. Similarly, packing and labeling, just we discussed, your packaging and labeling is has to be correct, accurate always. Otherwise, you are meeting all the test specifications in QC, right? Your COA looks perfect, exactly in the middle of the your specifications, but you put a product in a wrong label, right? You are putting a 500 milligram tablet in some other container, or in some other strips, right? The labeling is wrong, then the dose is wrong to the patient, right? The patient is at risk. Similarly, the manufacturing control is very much important, because here you can see I have mentioned one phrase here: quality is built in and not tested in. Because when you make a product and you test it, right, you are going to just test how much my assay dissolution, my impurity profile, my pH, my viscosity, blah blah blah. You may be meeting all the specifications, right? But if you are not making the quality product, that is the manufacturing controls, right? You may have heard the terms, the design strategy, right? Design space and operation space, right? So if you are not playing within that control range always while making the batches, definitely you are going to fail. May not be a first second batch will be fall within spec, but your control strategies are not correct, then the next batch definitely will not hit your specifications. So that's the reason the quality has to be built in the product. So each stepwise operation, right? You take example of, in case of tablets, you follow the granulation, then your compression, your coating, right? There you have to follow your control strategy. My LOD, my water content should fall always within this range in my in process. If you are ensuring that for each batch, then 100% you are going to make a quality product, right? So testing is always will hit your specifications. But if you don't control your manufacturing strategies, your manufacturing controls, you may not get a quality products. If you guys have any questions, and then I would like to take at the end of the session, but still if anyone has, then please give it to your coordinators and I will take up that if you want to pause me in between the presentation. So next slide is quality control versus quality assurance. So there are a lot of confusion between the guys, right? What is quality control and what is quality assurance, right? So yes, it's a different department, and both comes up with different responsibilities, and both are a core part of any organization. So first we'll have a look on the quality control. So what is quality control, right? So quality control is always deals with the laboratory. So quality control has always a laboratory where you can find all the analytical instruments, right? And it's fully a testing focused lab, right? And the main function of quality control is they handle all the samples and test results. So when you use any samples to them, that has to be tested before they make a final results. They release a final results on that sample. So they detect the problem, right? If anything failed in your manufacturing control while making the batch in a operation, they will detect, right? Your assay is down, your impurities are high, your water content is failing, your LOD is failing. So they gives you all the results. You give the sample, they will test you, they will give you the results, right? So the answer is, does it meet specs? Does it meet the specifications? Yes, no. Means always whenever they test the samples, they have the specifications in place. Just they have to, and they have the testing procedure in place. So they just follow the testing procedures, then they gives you the results. That's the function of quality control laboratory. And coming to quality assurance, so it's a wide department. Covers complete organization. It covers all the department of organization. It includes all production, engineering, warehouse, your IT department, your supply chain department, your R&D. So quality assurance cover all the departments because they have to make a system for each department, and the system adherence also is the responsibility of quality assurance, that they have to ensure that the quality systems which we have made, every department is exactly following and strictly adhering to that quality systems. Because for making any product, uh, quality product, you have to follow the systems and procedures. So quality assurance department takes care of complete systems and procedures are in place, and everyone is following that. So it's a wide responsibility for quality assurance functions. And the function is like quality detects the problem, here the quality assurance prevents the problem. And always remember, all the responsibility, the final disposition of the batch is always the responsibility of quality assurance department. All the department will work as per their work profiles, and they will make a batch, and QC will test the batch, QC will queue the documents. But it's a final responsibility of quality assurance department, the batch which is manufactured, whether that should be released, rejected, or put on hold. It's the responsibility of quality assurance department that they have to ensure, while making the batch, whatever procedures followed, the batch records is exactly filled, it is meeting all the criteria, the documents have filled online, right? The analyst who have done the testing is a qualified analyst, trained analyst. The data they have generated is a valid data, and the data is available, right, for review. So all these things QO quality assurance department ensures, and then they release the batch to the market. So these are the different set of responsibilities when it comes to quality assurance and quality control. So always quality control will tell you like whether the product is meeting the specifications or not, but quality assurance will give you the assurance that the product is meeting the quality requirements or compliance. Then what is GMP and compliance and ALCOA, right? You maybe have heard in your studies, right? These terminologies: GMP, compliance, ALCOA, ALCOA plus. So I'll just explain a little bit here on these points. So what is GMP? What is compliance? So GMP and compliance is always having the right material in place. Like if you have to you have to manufacture a batch of any dosage form, the first things comes is your raw material, right? So if you have a different vendors, if you have a different suppliers, right, you have to take a excipient, API, your packaging material, your chemicals, your reference standards, working standards, right? So you have to ensure that the material which you are taking for making a product is meeting the quality standards. Okay, that is the first requirement. Then the right equipment. So now you got quality, all the raw materials, the quality raw materials. The next thing is your equipments, right? Your equipments are qualified and calibrated, whether it means whether they are suitable to make the batch, to manufacture the batch, or to test the batch, right? And always you have to ensure the equipments are qualified. We have certain standards actually. It's NIST, NPL standards. So when the calibration is done, always we have to ensure that the equipments are calibrated or qualified against the NIST and NPL standard. That's the National Institute of Science and Technology EVSA standard, and this one is National Physical Laboratory. So most of the times when we calibrate, we use the standard device. Like take an example of stopwatch, right? If you have to use a stopwatch, you have to run your process for 30 minutes. So how you will ensure? You have to have a calibrated stopwatch, right? Against that, you will ensure that calibrated stopwatch is calibrated against the NIST and NPL standard. That is the requirement of the regulatory agencies, that your equipments are calibrated, they are qualified, and they are traceable up to NIST or NPL standards. So that gives the sense of right equipment. Then right process means approved records and SOPs, right? So for making any batch, you have to have the approved batch record, right? And the procedures or systems that has to be written and documented. And every time the guys has to ensure at the shop floor that they are following the right process, exactly what is given in the batch record or what is given in the SOP, they are exactly following the same. Then right people, what is right people? So it's a training, okay? So when you will join the pharma industry, first things will be your training, right? Initial maybe 1, 2 or 3 months, generally 30, 60, 90 days plan most of the companies have for the training the new persons. Okay, so qualified for the job means you are trained and you are qualified for the job. Most of the time we call it as on the job training, right? So uh, suppose one department is you selected where you join in operation or quality assurance or quality control or any other department. So first thing will be you are trained on certain aspects of SOP and on the job training which you are going to do. So so it is important to ensure the people who is going to perform the activity is trained to do that activity. Then right documentation. So GXP covers all your GDP, good documentation practices, good laboratory practices, good manufacturing practices. So whole things get covered under right documentation. It means you are manufacturing a quality batch, but if you don't generate the records, right, or if you don't maintain the uh, documents generated from that batch, your batch will not sustain in the market. You cannot release the batch in the market. So ensuring that you have done all right documentation and all the documentation is available in a right manner, that is important, which is part of GMP and compliance as well. And then right testing, right? So that just we talk about the QC. So right testing means the person who is going to test your product, he has to be qualified analyst, right? Means he have proved his competency, that this guy is competent to perform the assay testing or related substances testing, or is fit to do the particulate matter testing. Any test, for each test he should have to prove his competency, then only he is allowed to test the product. And the methods which he is going to use for testing, that has to be validated. You may have heard the term validation, right? So that validation of process, validation of method is very much important in pharma industry. Without validating any process or any test method, pharma industry or regulators don't allow to use that method for testing and releasing the data. So right testing is important. Then right decision, which is again the important aspect. Right decision means while making the batch, you come across certain deviations, right? So you have to immediately report that deviations, right? Or during testing, you got out of specification results, you have to report that out of specification result, which is nothing but we call it as a quality management system. You have to report that events or deviations or out of specification results, and you have to investigate it. After investigation, if you found that's valid or invalid event, until unless you thoroughly assess and investigate that, you are not supposed to release the data, right? So that's the right decision making. Then coming to right hand side of the slide, so just hold these things, right, which I mentioned: right material, right equipment, all. So that will, if you will follow strictly, definitely you are going to get a right medicine, and by default your patient safety will get ensured by you. Yeah. Then coming to data integrity, which is nothing but Alcoa and Alcoa Plus we are calling. So what is that Alcoa? It is very important aspect of compliance, where the A is attributable, but what it indicates, who did that, right? Who have done that? If someone has done any work, it should be attributable by signatures or electronic signature, but that should be traceable, right? Who exactly have done that? That is the attributability. Then legible means the data you have generated, can it be read later? You may have your balances if you have the printers, or take example of your ATM machine, right? You may have you may be using the ATM machine. Whenever you use the ATM machine, you are getting one slip, right? The paper slip. If you take that paper slip and just scratch with a nail, you will find the black line on that paper, right? Because it is a thermal paper. And you just hold that ATM slip with you for a month or 2 months, then you will see the content on the your ATM slip is fed up, because it is a thermal paper, right? Your content will be go off after months, 2 months or 3 months, right? So there the legibility matters. So legibility is very much important. So we have a true copy concept, and also under this legibility compliance issue, wherever the industry is using a thermal papers, they have to take a photocopy immediately after taking a printout, and that photocopy has to be signed as a true copy, because that photocopy will remain until your document is there, right? And why it is important, because when we work in a pharmaceutical industry, we generate data. So research and development data for any product, or the validation, just we talk the validation data of any product, or the stability data of any product, that we have to maintain throughout the life cycle of the product. You may have gone through some ICH guidelines. So life cycle of the product means until your product exists in the market, and even you discontinue the product from market, still plus 1 year you have to maintain the data related to that product in the industry. So in these cases, this data matters, because if the regulator comes tomorrow in the industry, they ask for this data. If you are failed to produce this data, you may get a import alert, you may get a audit observation. So that's the reason the legibility is very much important. Then contemporaneous is recorded at the time, or we can call it as online documentation. Original means the first capture or verified copy. Most of the instruments have the instrument output as electronic output, where the data gets sits into the servers, or the paper generated copies. Or some instrument just have the HMI, it's human man interface, means you can see some results on a display, and you have to record in your batch records immediately. So that considered as a first capture. uh, okay, or verified copy. Then accurate, sorry, then accurate means the correct or error check data. It means the data which you have generated is correct, and it is verified before releasing the data or the batch. Then these are the plus concepts. The data is complete, means it's consistent, stepwise, it's enduring throughout the life cycles, and is always available whenever asked by the regulators or customers. Then here we'll discuss on some real-time examples, some basic examples in the pharma industry. Why the Alcoa principles matter, or why the GMP compliance, which we discussed in a previous slide here, why the GMP compliance or Alcoa uh, matters in a real-time scenario. So first case is documentation error. So here I have presented one example where the incorrect batch record entry uh, didn't match with the actual equipment data. Okay, so in this case, what happened? The filter integrity tester has given instrument output. It's a electronic record they generated, which says fail. Okay, but the done by person and verified by person or checked by person, they documented it as a pass. So in this case, maybe the pressure was on the manager to deliver the batch in time because of the market requirement. So he knows that if he will go ahead with the failed results for this particular activity, then the batch will get hold, it will not get released in the market. And he may have to hear from his manager, so he may be asked these guys, the shop floor guys, to ignore this pass results document, ignore this failed result and document it as a pass in the document, and just go ahead for the next stages. But what happened? It later got captured, maybe the internal in internal audit or regulatory audit, right? And they seen when they verified against the electronic data, the batch record, the paper batch record. When they verified, they found the electronic data says it's a fail, but in batch record, the guys on the shop floor have recorded this as a pass result. So this is called data integrity, because this is not what exactly happened, or this is not the true data you documented in the batch for releasing the batch, right? So there are two aspects of data integrity. One is intentional and non-intentional. So this is the case of intentional, because the manager intentionally asked the guys to write it as a pass, although it is a failing, and they just progress the batch to next level because of the market pressure, which is unethical thing to do. Okay, and the second case here is the analytical method techniques, right? In analytical method or techniques, so you also may be doing some analytical experiments in your laboratories. So you know there are two types of techniques, right, for pipetting. It's a forward technique and a reverse technique. Mostly the reverse technique people use when when the liquids or solution samples are viscous, right? In that cases. So here when the method developed guys have clearly provided one note below the sample preparation, and the note were clearly indicating that it's a viscous liquid and please use the reverse technique for pipetting. But maybe it's unintentional, I can say. Maybe the analyst ignored the note, maybe he just seen the sample preparation in the test method and he performed the forward pipetting. But with the forward pipetting, they found the assay value got underestimated by 5%, right? If the assay value underestimated by 5% means if you have a assay limit 100%, right, and you got assay 105%, so it's a overdose, right, which may cause a safety issue to the patient. So when it identified by the regulator, the next action is a product recall, right? Potential recall or regulatory impact also, right? The product recall means the regulatory has asked the manufacturer that the product is not fit for usage. You have underestimated the assay value by 5%. You are not within the spec, so you have to recall your product, right? So that's loss for any pharmaceutical industry. Also, these recalls have multiple categories. If it's a critical or serious recall, there is a one action, field alert report, FAR, for US by US FDA. So within after reporting the event within 72 hours, you have, as a manufacturer, you have to withdraw your product from the market within 72 hours. That's the requirement. If you fail to do that, the intense action from regulators may be import alert, right? In that case, the manufacturer can't make a products anymore for that particular market. So these are the serious consequences you have to face, because it's a business loss for you, right, in the major markets. But why it happened, the analyst just may not be seen the note mentioned under the sample preparation. So if it is after investigation you concluded it's unintentional, there was no intention by analyst to do the wrong pipetting, so in that case it is a fine. But if the data integrity found intentional, then we have seen a lot of examples in pharma industry. It's a zero tolerance policy. Almost every highly regulatory industries are having. Under that, they just fire the guys who have done the data integrity. So when you will join the industry, you have to be very ethical. You have to speak up that I will not do the wrong activities, although your manager is asking you to do that. So you can see what are the consequences I'm mentioning here. You have to lose a job in that cases. So yeah, so deviation investigation, product risk assessment, kappa. So whenever any such events are registered, we have to register first, being a shop floor guys or the person who is coming across these events. First thing he has to report that it's a deviation, OS, or any event, right, which is not as per the system, right? Deviation means what? Anything which depart from the written or established procedure is a deviation. So when it happens, it has to be reported, thoroughly investigated, right? We have to assess the product risk because of the deviation. And then finally, we have to assign appropriate CAPAs, right? Corrective action and preventive action. Why the appropriate CAPAs are required? If you put appropriate CAPAs in place, then definitely you can avoid the recurrence of the similar things, right? If you have CAPA and you train the people on that CAPA, then definitely similar mistakes can be avoided. Also, some industries follow the effectiveness checks. Now you have established the CAPA. Now keep the effectiveness check for next 3 months or 6 months that this kappa which you have established are correct kappas and you are not having any recurring issues. So this is about the case studies. We'll go to next slides. So audit is also one of the important factor in pharmaceutical industry. You may be hearing that this company fail in audit and they close the operations. So uh, this critical thing for any pharmaceutical company because they always have to maintain the compliance level 24/7 because earlier the most of the highly regulated auditors like US FDA or EMA, European Medical Agency, they used to come with intimation that we are going to audit your facility in upcoming months, like 3 months before or even 6 months before. The company used to get intimations, but a few years back when the US FDA auditors lose complete trust in the most of the industries because when they surprisingly audited, they found that the batches are manufactured but the data is not available, and they found a lot of non-compliances. So that's the reason they started surprise audits, and because of surprise audits, now the industrial all the pharma industries always have to maintain a very good GMP and compliance level. So anytime ready kind of thing for the audits. So you can see what is audit actually. So audit generally verify with GLP, GMP, and GCP, good clinical practices concepts, right? They just spot gaps, right? They drive the corrective actions, they protect patient safety, data integrity. So auditor generally check the suppose I'm a US regulator, right? So when I visit any industry, if I'm a US citizen and I have come for audit, I will check that, right? The medicines coming from this X industry is really making a quality products for my country, whether they are safe for consumption of my people. So they will come and they will audit your industry, right? And they will check, like suppose you shown them your certificate of analysis. My assay is 99%. So they will come and they will ask you, okay, your assay is 99% for this product. Show me the documents, right? So you should be able to prove that you have done that analysis in real and you have the data available, and the analyst who have tested that he was a qualified, or the batch which was manufactured in operation, the guys was trained for on the job training. So then they will just check everything. Yes, you guys are meeting the compliance, so you are good. So there are like various types of audits. Internal audit, generally every company has one function. One They generally set up one team of cross-functional departments who go and keep checking the internal departments quarterly. Just this is the opportunity for every industry to check that whatever we are doing in a compliant way. So before the third person or the regulatory auditors comes in and picks our issues, it is opportunity for every industry through internal audit to internally find out the issues and fix it before third person will come and give you audit observations or import alerts to your industry. Then supplier and vendor audits. As in initial slide I mentioned, right, we have to take a raw materials from different vendor because the company who is a manufacturer don't have all the things with them, right? They have to go to the different vendors or suppliers to get the things required to make the product. So supplier and vendor audit is important because that gives you a confidence the material which you are taking in your industry for making the product is safe. Then CMO audit, so contract manufacturing organization audits. So like some companies get manufacture the product from another companies, right? Like some US companies want to make a product in Indian companies, so Indian company becomes contract manufacturing site for them. So they are the client for this Indian company. So they comes and keep auditing the contract manufacturing units, because they have given you a business, but the responsibility ultimately lies with them, because they will be the market authorization holder for selling the product, right? Maybe Indian company is manufacturing the product for US company, but ultimately the US company has the responsibility of marketing authorization in US, so they are also equally responsible for any quality and compliance things. So they keep auditing the manufacturing sites. Then last one is the important factor, regulatory inspections, which you can see on the right hand side. These are the common regulators, and these are the major markets we call in pharma industry. Like US is a major market, followed by European market, where generally the industries get a major revenue, and their audits are the stringent audits. Even if you will see the specs of US CFDA and European agencies, or even if you see your pharmacopoeia, US pharmacopoeia, you can just compare your US pharmacopoeia monographs for any product versus your European pharmacopoeia monograph versus your Indian pharmacopoeia monographs for any same product or same molecule. You will find a huge difference between the set of testings, also between the limit of specifications. You will see the US will always have the stringent limits. So generally the batch which is manufactured for US market will fit for all the markets. So always US has a stringent specifications, followed by EMA, followed by IPO or rest of the markets. So these regulatory inspections are always tough for any pharmaceutical industry, because they get maximum revenue from these US and European regulators or European countries. So uh, facing that audits are always tough. They are always thorough, and not like the 20 years before. Most of the auditors comes from the US, maybe the FBI investigators and all, but now the auditors, those are coming for audits, they are fully having a very good scientific backgrounds. So from each department they bring one person for the audit. Set of people are coming now for audit, instead of single person. One is an expert in electronic system, one is in analytical, one is in manufacturing. So that's the reason you have to be on your toes always with respect to compliance. If you are always meeting if you are always following your quality systems, then as an industry you need not to worry, because whatever the activities you have done, you know that you have done in a compliant way. So it indicates that you are ready anytime for audit. That's the reason the compliance is important. If compliance is good, you need not to worry for any audit. Then here is a slide for you guys. You can see here when you will complete your BPharm and MPharm. So these are the different functions of the industry. You can join in production, R&D, engineering department, QA, regulatory affairs, supply chain, quality control, validation and qualification teams, clinical research, and beyond that also there are multiple departments. I don't know your college has the integrated courses or not, but some colleges are have like BPharm plus MBA, where you can join the HR department, you can join the business development department. Also, we have now multinational companies are coming with new concepts. We are calling it as a MSAT and ASAT. It's analytical science and technology and manufacturing science and technology. This department also picking up right now in the industries, in multinational industry mostly. So these are the departments you can look to join when you finish your courses, academic courses. And definitely will have a good academic knowledge, and the projects you are going, I will recommend you the projects you are going, do it seriously. Be thorough on your project, because when you will be at fresher level, mostly any interviewer will ask you on your projects, and the basics. That's the reason your basics has to be correct, right? If they ask you principle of any analytical instrument, HPLC, EV, Raman, you have to be thorough on that, right? If you have done a project on that particular aspect. So it's my recommendation, the project if you are going to do it seriously and be thorough. Let them ask anything from your project, you have to be able to answer the particular questions. So these are with respect to your technical knowledge, but what are the things you have to develop in yourself when you are looking for the job in industry? So other than technical knowledge, the attention to detail is very important, right? Documentation discipline, as I mentioned, from a GDP point of view, right? Your documentation has to be accurate. always you should have a scientific thinking when any problem come, right? So you should have scientific thinking, okay, why it could have come, what gone wrong and all. So that's called as a problem solving skill, right? It's not like that every time the problem is coming and just you are going with your manager with a problem, but you have to go always with a solution. It may be right, it may be wrong, but your thinking should start, right? You at least you will feel you started something, right? You started thinking on something, why this problem came. That is important. So scientific thinking, problem solving is always good. Then ethical decision making, as I mentioned, right? If your manager is putting pressure on you to release or to do some wrong activity which is non-ethical, so you should always say no. You have to stick to your ethical decisions. Then communication, yeah, you have to develop that. Your communication should be good enough. You can develop it later, but it should be good enough to deliver your knowledge. Like you have a excellent technical skill, but if you are not able to communicate that in an appropriate way uh, to the next person, then it's a failure, right? It's useless. Then although you have excellent knowledge, but you are not able to communicate in a right manner or rightly. Data integrity, we already discussed what is data integrity. Root cause thinking, like you should have a thinking why, like we have concept 5W1H, right? For any event when it happen, we have a lot of different tools to get to the root cause, but this is, I think, famous tool, the fishbone diagram and the 5Y1H. You should ask why, and definitely you get an answer at the end, like why it happened, why the event happened, why something gone wrong, and that gives you root cause, and then the appropriate kappa. Then speak up attitude, right? You should speak up always. If something is happening wrong, it may not be your responsibility, but you've seen some other guys along with your shop load doing some wrong activities and which is non-ethical. So you should have a speak up culture. Or if your manager is putting a pressure on you to do wrong things, you should go and talk to your HRs or the next levels, because speak up attitude is always good, appreciable in industries if you have a speak up attitude. So these are just few things I put it on the screen from my experience, but there are a lot of things beyond that. You can keep exploring and keep developing yourself. This is just a summary slide, right? So always think quality is patient safety. So write first things which I mentioned in one slide, or right. So you have to always do the right things. So always the dose which is going to deliver to the patient it will be always safe. So in summary, quality is always do the right thing. Compliance is do it the right way. And audit is just you should be able to demonstrate what you have done. That is correct only. And few takeaways from this presentation. Just quickly we'll go through it. So as I mentioned, quality is built in the product, not tested in. So right, so when you will build the quality in the product, always you are going to hit all the specification parameters, right? And QC versus QA also we discussed. Main thing is QC detects the issue and quality assurance control the issue through systems to maintain a product quality. Then GMP and data integrity, which also includes the Alcoa principles, right? So these are like accurate, legible, contemporaneous, original, complete, and all. Then deviations I mentioned, right? Deviations must be trio kappa. When there is an event, it has to be reported. It has to be investigated in a right manner. Like it has to be thoroughly investigated. Then the product quality risk assessment need to be done with respect to that event. Then you have to establish appropriate kappas. So it helps to avoid the repeated issues, right? Because we know repeated issues can lead a higher patient and regulatory risk. Import alerts, they may come and close your industry. They make you import alert. And sometimes the good industries, you can find the history. I cannot take the name of the companies, but some good or top 5 Indian companies, you can find out the history of audits. They have got a failure in their audits, right? And then it takes years, more than 5 to 7 years to resolve that audit issues with the highly regulatory market like US market and all. It takes 5 to 7 years. So that 5 to 7 years, the manufacturing unit which is under import alert or under audit observations cannot make any product from that site to sell in that particular market for which it is paid. So you can understand the importance of the compliance and audits. And last thing is you must demonstrate what you did is right. So internal audit is always opportunity to check yourself, to show you mirror like where you stands with respect to compliance and the procedures. So remember this last line, guys. Behind every signature and test result, it is a patient. So when you join the industry, treat every action like it matters. Uh, that's it from my side. If you have any question, give it to your coordinator, and I'm happy to take that. Hello.
Thank you, sir, for the insightful and enriching session. Your valuable experiences and practical insights into quality assurance, good manufacturing practices, regulatory compliance, audits, and patient safety have certainly given us a better understanding of the pharmaceutical industry's quality landscape. Now, I kindly request to you to accept this virtual certificate as a token of appreciation. Please, sir.
Yeah.
On the behalf of Gokhale Education Society, Sir Dr. M.S. Gosari College of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Nasik, I sincerely express our gratitude for taking the time for sharing your valuable expertise and experience with us. Thank you, sir, and thank you everyone for your kind participation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.